From Ecstasy to Häxan, to The Birth of a Nation, these are 12 banned films from cinema's earliest wild era that shocked audiences so badly, they helped trigger the first real crackdowns on what could be shown on screen. Long before Will Hays and the Motion Picture Production Code slammed the door in 1934, filmmakers operated in a gray zone where violence, erotic subtext, taboo desire, and outright blasphemy could make it onto the screen. Sometimes dressed up as art, sometimes sold as history, and sometimes just dropped like a bomb. People love to imagine the black and white era as repressed and innocent. It wasn't. It was experimental, rebellious, and often openly provocative. So we're going back to early scandal cinema, mostly pre-1930, where the rules weren't written yet and censors were always playing catch-up. The Fatty Arbuckle scandal of 1921 had already put the industry on notice, but filmmakers kept pushing boundaries until Will Hays and later Joseph Breen's Production Code Administration locked everything down. Let's count down 12 films that proved shameless cinema didn't start in the modern era. It was there from the beginning. Number 1. The Cheat, a psychological grenade that shocked American audiences in 1915. Cecil B. DeMille wasn't just building biblical epics yet, he was exploring power, dominance, and erotic threat in a way people weren't prepared for. Edith Hardy ends up trapped in a debt spiral with a wealthy businessman played by Sessue Hayakawa, and the film pivots into its infamous moment, a branding iron pressed to her bare shoulder, turning desire into ownership. The lighting makes it feel even more intimate and brutal, exposed skin, harsh shadow, panic in the eyes. The reaction came immediately, huge success, huge outrage, and the first big proof that taboo sells. Number 2. Häxan. If you want banned for vibes alone, this is it. Benjamin Christensen framed it like a historical study, but what he delivered was a nightmare collage of witchcraft, nudity, hysteria, and religious terror. Naked Sabbaths, possession, ritual imagery, stuff that looked genuinely dangerous to audiences in 1922. The genius move was the excuse, I'm just depicting medieval beliefs. That cover let him smuggle in images that censors could barely describe without blushing. The result? Bans, outrage, and an influence on horror that still feels alive. Number 3. Metropolis. A masterpiece of Weimar cinema and a production defined by obsession. Fritz Lang built a futuristic nightmare that's also weirdly erotic at its core, the robot Maria, a synthetic seductress designed like a weapon. It's not nude scandal, it's sexual symbolism turned into machinery, desire mass-produced. The behind-the-scenes brutality became part of the legend, but the on-screen boldness is what matters here. Occult-coded imagery, seductive technology, and a world where lust and power are basically the same engine. Number 4. Salomé. Alla Nazimova didn't just make a movie, she made a provocation. She gambled her fortune on an avant-garde vision inspired by Aubrey Beardsley's forbidden illustrations, turning the screen into living decadent art. The costumes weren't designed to hide bodies. They were designed to transform bodies into erotic spectacle. Sheer fabric, pearls, feathers, shapes that feel alien and intimate at the same time. Then the off-screen whisper campaign made it even hotter. The Lavender production mythos, queer casting, queer energy, open rebellion. The industry punished her for it, but the film remains a pure statement, beauty as defiance. Number 5. Pandora's Box. Louise Brooks as Lulu is an extinction-level event for old-school, innocent, silent cinema. This G.W. Pabst masterpiece of Weimar cinema brought Frank Wedekind's controversial stage plays to life in a way that made censors panic. She's modern, natural, and frighteningly honest. Lulu doesn't exist to be taught a moral lesson. She exists to want what she wants. And the film's most daring edge isn't just her erotic power, it's the presence of same-sex desire treated seriously through Countess Geschwitz. That wasn't joke scandal, it was human and direct. Critics called it repulsive because it refused to shame Lulu the way the era demanded. Brooks paid for that refusal, but her performance survives like a warning and a manifesto. Number 6. Un Chien Andalou. Salvador Dali and Luis Buñuel didn't want to shock you. They wanted to violate your sense of safety. The razor-to-the-eye sequence is the point of no return, cinema proving it can attack the viewer. Then it spirals into taboos. Sex, aggression, religion dragged through the mud, without offering explanation or comfort. It got banned because it's obscene in the truest sense. It refuses to be polite, and it proved you didn't need big studios to create something that could terrify the culture. Number 7. The Sheik. This one detonated the idea of male desire being the default gaze. Rudolph Valentino became a global sex symbol because the film unapologetically catered to female desire. Smoldering looks straight into the lens, captivity, fantasy, tension, the heat of it all. Moral guardians panicked not because it was graphic, but because it revealed what audiences, especially women, wanted. And once that door opened, it never fully closed. This film is pure proof that sexuality in cinema isn't new. It was always there, just waiting to be admitted. Number 8. Battleship Potemkin. Not sexual scandal, political scandal. Sergei Eisenstein weaponized Soviet montage theory to create emotion like a machine. The Odessa step sequence isn't just violence, it's violence engineered to control the viewer's pulse. A baby carriage tumbling down steps, panic sliced into rhythm, authority turning into a slaughterhouse. Governments feared it because it didn't just show revolution, it made you feel revolution. It got banned because it proved film could be propaganda so powerful it felt like a physical force. Number 9. The Birth of a Nation. The darkest entry on the list, and the most dangerous. Technically groundbreaking, morally catastrophic. D.W. Griffith helped define the language of cinema, scale, cross-cutting, spectacle. But he used it to tell racist propaganda, glorifying the Ku Klux Klan and demonizing black people through dehumanizing stereotypes and blackface. The film's impact wasn't theoretical, it fed real-world violence and helped legitimize hatred. This is the warning label for bold cinema. Innovation without ethics becomes a weapon. Number 10. Foolish Wives. Erich von Stroheim didn't push boundaries, he wallowed in the forbidden. He plays a fake count seducing wealthy women with predatory realism, and the film lingers on decadence like it's documenting a crime. The scandal is in the atmosphere: voyeurism, implied sexual coercion, obsession with flesh and power. Censorship boards attacked it because it wasn't tasteful. Audiences loved it because it wasn't. The silent era didn't need explicit scenes to feel dirty. It knew how to imply. Number 11. L'Âge d'Or. If the earlier surrealist film was an assault, this was a riot starter. Luis Buñuel takes desire and smashes it into everything society worships: church, family, respectability. It's blasphemy as cinema, erotic obsession, social rules mocked, sanctity dragged through the gutter on purpose. And it didn't just get banned. Screenings sparked real violence. That's the level of threat this film represented. Not offensive, but destabilizing. Number 12. Ecstasy. The ultimate symbol of provocation before the clampdown. Gustave Macchietti's direction and Hedy Lamar's nude swimming and running sequence wasn't shot like a wink, it was shot like a statement. The body, unashamed, on screen. And the film's depiction of female pleasure pushed mainstream cinema into territory it would avoid for decades. Condemned by the Legion of Decency, banned, seized, because it proved film could capture intimacy in a way that felt uncontrollable to moral authorities. It was one of the last big screams before the Code era tried to pretend none of this ever happened. So there you have it. And just to be clear, this isn't nostalgia for the good old days of early cinema. It's evidence. Pre-Code Hollywood wasn't innocent. It was reckless, daring, and sometimes genuinely dangerous, not because it was trying to be edgy for clicks, but because it showed people living outside the rules before the rules had fully hardened. And that's the part that still hits today. These films weren't quietly breaking a guideline. They were openly challenging who got to decide what was acceptable. You can see it in the way women talk back, in the way desire isn't punished immediately, in the way crime looks tempting, and in the way good morals aren't always rewarded. It's messy, it's human, and for the people trying to control culture, messy humanity is a threat. Because censorship isn't just about sex or violence, it's about power. It's about controlling the story. Who gets to be portrayed as moral, who gets to be seen as dangerous, and who's allowed to want more than the system says they should. Pre-Code films showed audiences something that censors hated, that society's rules could be questioned, bent, or even ignored, and the world didn't instantly collapse. And once you notice that, you realize why the crackdown happened. It wasn't random. It was a response. A full-on cultural course correction. A way of saying, no, you don't get to watch that. You don't get to think that. You don't get to imagine a life outside the approved script. The Hays Code wasn't just a list. It was an attempt to reset the public's imagination. So now I'm curious, when you look at these moments with modern eyes, what shocks you the most? Is it how blunt they were? How fearless? How casual they were about taboo subjects? Or is it the fact that we still argue about the same things today, just with new vocabulary and different platforms? And back then, what do you think scared the censors more? The sexuality, the violence, the politics, the women with agency, the criminals who don't immediately pay, or the simple idea that audiences could handle complexity without being protected from it? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want part 2 on early cinema history, hit like and subscribe, because cinema's darkest history goes way deeper than anyone admits. And trust me, the next chapter is where things get really uncomfortable.